He manipulates the necessary controls to broadcast the message on the tape over the air.
Radio alert. Normal broadcasting will be discontinued for an indefinite period.
I've been asked to remind everyone that this briefing, as well as this entire project, is classified.
And I'm going to just begin this program and tape by showing you some terminology about the end or end time. I'm going to be repetitive because I want it to sink in.
You'll learn about end-time terminology, end-time numerology, end-time catastrophes, end-time organizations, and end-time leaders.
It's the marker we've been waiting for, the spacecraft from the level above human to take us home to the literal heavens.
For people that have a particularly strong case of alienation, this can become a very powerful segment of your life. There is a vision of another kind of world in which we could live a lot better, and maybe the UFO can take us there.
And this is what happened, or could happen, on a certain day called X.
Some people would look at it as the best moment of their life.
Or will it be, as many believe, the final judgment?
A lot of people have done extensive research into this and have discovered that flying saucers have a tendency to make a lot of appearances around about a important event happening on Earth. It's an amazing coincidence. There are no coincidences.
This is way out of the realm of fiction or supposition or conspiracy theory or speculation. This is absolute documented fact.
On July 5th, 1998 at 7 a.m., the Exists shall make a mass landing on this planet. The children of Bob shall be rewarded at this foretold rupture, this day of judgment, when all those who paid their church dues will be lifted up in power and glory to gain new homes and bodies aboard the pleasure saucers of the sex goddesses, all the while watching the hapless pigs twitch and bleat and wail in the death throes of their world.
Not because some general or madman will push a button and reduce our planet to ash, but because, as the fundamentalists see it, God has had it planned that way for at least 1900 years.
If there really were a day called X.
People have always had a fascination with the heavens. UFO groups celebrate this connection to the stars. Mainstream religion rarely, if ever, recognizes biblical passages as describing extraterrestrial sightings.
New Agers look at the year 2000 as a time of rescue via, listen to this, friendly spaceships.
No, I'm not saying that God did not do this, but God worked through the UFOs to produce this.
A bizarre marriage of science fact, fiction, and hope.
Research suggests that 20% of Americans believe in UFOs. Is this why some of these people are joining UFO cults instead of mainstream religions?
The best-known group that started out in the grips of cult paranoia and evolved into a major religion is
J.R. Bob Dobbs, the living slack master in his Church of the Subgenius.
A prophet with honor in his own land and in his own time.
part circus-style entertainment and part sales pitch.
At their recruitment meetings all across the country, they were extremely persuasive with their sci-fi pitch to potential members.
It's rumored that followers are under some type of mind control.
Praise God!
To me, he was a fabulous man. I would say he was among the greatest of the great.
The energy that I felt from him put me into a state of almost fear and awe.
He provides a way for people to have both the mystical experience and the experience of sexual freedom and letting go of everything.
He had this sense of apocalyptic doom.
There's no limit to what he could do. He could destroy the earth.
I don't know what that is, but I know who the devil is, and he hates you, and he has a plan for your life, and it's to rip your family apart, it's to destroy your kids, it's to pull you out of church and make you not believe in God.
He's not politically correct, and he's not part of the Antichrist movement. You see, some people have the idea that the only people that care anything about E.T. or extraterrestrials or UFOs and all that, a bunch of pot-smoking hippies sitting around a campfire somewhere and singing Kumbaya or Om or whatever else they do, and that's all they do. And I mean, you know, nut jobs. But the truth of the matter is, some of the smartest people in this country have their eyes focused on the heavens. You get into the people that are in the business of making money, and they are in the business of supporting the knowledge of extraterrestrials.
their unorthodox gospel began to take shape.
Once they realized the money in that, the benefit to that, the sheer joy and outrage and pleasure for the public and themselves in all of that,
they turned their New Age and Christian ideologies into a business and went searching for followers.
They brought a lot of color and excitement to small towns of people who lived on farms, who didn't have a lot to do.
And people left with something. They left sort of fascinated by it. They were intrigued by the concept of, could this actually be?
You're going to hear all kinds of stories before you get there and afterwards, and I'm going to make up a few after I come back.
We were out looking at the stars, just enjoying the night, and suddenly we looked behind us, and there, hovering on the ground next to us, was a UFO. It was the most incredible light show. It had all the colors of the rainbow, and they went around the perimeter of the craft, and they were all just like scintillating, dancing, just like vibrating. It's just incredible. It just hovered there and was completely silent, and they've been coming around for a long time. I'm just lucky I've got to see them.
It cleared the mind, made your mind stronger.
It was the most unreal weekend I can ever remember.
Can't get any better than that for a testimony.
Who are these people? What drives them to participate in acts that society calls madness?
Let's look at the word subgenius. It does not simply mean just below a genius. Sub-G intelligence level can range far, far below genius.
I don't want to sound like a dummy here. They're not smarter than me, but they're very smart.
You're only limited by the credulity of your audience and your own imagination in making up these stories.
That there shall come in the last days scoffers, saying, where is the promise of his coming?
For the skeptic, for the agnostic, for the atheist, I invite you, come, see, and believe.
All these events happened right on the day, in the first 4 events. Why wouldn't it be logical then to say that the other events are going to happen right on the day?
The doomsday people would do well to study up.
On this day called X.
And that's why it is very important that this information starts to get out now, that man can prepare himself for a landing that is really our future.
We're going to have an apocalyptic event. We're going to have a convergence of spacecraft from various galaxies around the universe, and they're going to bring us
women
covered with hair,
standing 8 feet tall.
It looks like a potato,
Deformed, disfigured,
yet strangely
irresistible to millions.
And it comes from Mars.
Impossible, unbelievable, fantastic, but I tell you it could happen.
People are always afraid of what they don't understand. But there will always be some fool who will pick up a lit bomb and say, this is interesting, and it will go off in your hands. Can we get beyond our primitive fears?
As the aliens come closer, they're weeks away, they're hours away, things start getting strange.
And so this day called X, which began in such an ordinary way, is no ordinary day. And it's so hard to know in advance how any man will react when that day comes.
It certainly occurs to you that, well, what if this is the big one? You know, because you're not expecting the big one at that particular moment. You'll never be expecting the big one when it happens.
And it's right on the verge of coming down. And when it comes, it's going to spring forth just like that. It's going to come all of a sudden. It's all been building up to this point. But now, somewhere, in the next few days, few weeks, few months, few years, the Lord's the only one that knows when. But this thing is going to bust loose, and when it busts loose, you know what it's going to do? It's going to find the church asleep. The church is going to be completely asleep. The prosperity preachers are going to be up there naming it, claiming it, and blabbing it, and grabbing it. That's all they know to preach. And the people are going to be comfortable in their faith, feel good about their religion, and they're patriotic and love the country, and everything's going to be hunky-dory, and on we go.
Now, oh, listen to this. This really blessed my heart, friends.
Bob Dobbs can never die. He represents more than just a man with a pipe and a know-it-all grin. He represents the quest of all mutants for freedom.
Check that out. Check that out. Put that in your satanic pipe and smoke it, punk. Check that out. Oh, and by the way, he can smoke whatever he wants to in that psychotic, satanic pipe of his. I don't care what he smokes. I don't care how much he smokes. He ain't never going to be the Most High, okay? So you can just put that in your psychotic pipe and smoke it all day, all night, all month, or day, and you will never be the Most High. He's got delusions of grandeur.
They want to imagine themselves as the forerunners of the future. They want to imagine themselves being on the threshold of what is to come.
They say he is a false prophet.
The latest example of spiritual con men at work.
I don't think too much of that. I wouldn't have it in my house. I think it's filthy.
At best, they were wasting their money.
And yet his words are so powerful in their conviction that millions have believed his ominous prediction.
I believed it. I totally believed it. I was like a walking robot. I believed everything they said.
All too many people have uncritically bought into the story, not because the evidence is there, but they want to believe it's true.
To this day, the question of when this prophet of doom believed the apocalypse would take place is still unanswered.
He did give us some milestones some dates for milestones to think around.
We just assume that the people that have gathered those dates know what they're talking about. But that's not the case. I know how those dates are arrived at.
It had pursued the goal of having the people transported out of this world into a better world that existed in another dimension. The instrument of that transporting was to be some flying saucers. Those flying saucers never came.
Even when J.R.'s prediction proved wrong, his followers continued to believe that the apocalypse was imminent.
If the spaceships don't land, I'm not going to, have any great anxiety and go in a dither. There'll be a reason for it. You see, everything comes down to it. There's logic and reason in life. There's great organization in the cosmos. Because we're disorganized and have, you might say, gotten off the highway, that doesn't mean that the highway doesn't exist. You didn't pay attention to the traffic signals.
What can we now conclude from what's been presented?
I don't care who you are or where you come from. If you haven't sent your $20 into Bob, you're gonna burn. Mother Teresa, I don't care how many people she's helped. If she hadn't sent her $20 into jail, Bob Dodge is gonna burn in hell.